Welcome back to Tony's Top Tips Workshop. I said I was going to do another video on the Sainsmart 4040. I mean, on social media now, there's on some of the sites that I'm on, there's an awful lot of people purchased this particular machine, and a lot of people done on about doing different modifications and what have you to it. You know, people are on about changing the rods for solid steel and doing various things. I think if you're going to go to the expense of changing those and changing anything on it other than the spindle or the bed, then I think in some ways you need to spend that money and get a more substantially built one. This is only a hobby sort of CNC, and I know from what I've read and questions people ask me, they want to do different metals on it and that, and I'm not saying it can't do it, but you've got to work within the limitations of the machine for what you've paid for. I mean, I've upgraded the spindle for this, I upgraded the cooling, and I've upgraded the bed, of which I'll show you in a moment. I said I was going to do it to an aluminium profile T section. I found a site that I could get the aluminium profile off, but I do want to stress that it's not, although it says Pro, it's not what you would call an expensive machine. It's a good machine. I found it, I've used it quite a substantial amount now, and I've played around with it. I haven't had any problems with it operating it or it locking up. And if I've got quite an intense program, I always, what I've said in the previous videos is, I don't put a cutter in. Well, I put a cutter in and set it to 0, then take the cutter out and then run the program, see if it stalls anywhere, see if it starts to try and plunge too much. That way it doesn't damage anything. You know it runs the program, you know it's right, you can see straight away. I put the cutter back in and then try it until you get used to it and what its limitations are. Then, you know, you've got to find your own way, and that's the way I deal with it. But yeah, what I'll come on to now is, and I'll show you, I've added a couple more things to it. I've added a dust shoe from Sainsmart to the 52mm diameter spindle that I put in, and it's theirs. And at the moment, I purchased it off Amazon, the 52 one, and it comes with two. In fact, if I can show you the other one, right here we are back at the machine. As you can see, I purchased the Sainsmart Genmitsu dust shoe. It comes with two different length brushes, and it fits straight on. I have mine out that way, and then I've got the hose that actually comes out of there, and I just cable tie it there. I'm going to make a bracket for it, and it's a purpose made hose that I have for one of the other sanders that I have. So, and it came to that, and I purchased this from Amazon, and it's on offer at the moment, I believe, 25 quid. Now, it's not even worth 3D printing anything for that. The magnetic, so the slot straight on, and they give you for different size cutters, and it works pretty good. So that's the other improvement. The other improvement is, as you can see, it's got a T-slot aluminium table on. Now, I hunted about for the profile, and I found it on eBay. I'll put a link into the description underneath, also for the dust shoe, and I'll put a link in for the aluminium profile. Now, you can buy it in the length that you require, which is 600. You can get 700 if you wanted a slight overhang, but I stuck to 600, which is exactly from here to the other side. And the profile that you want is 15, it comes up as a number, it's 15120, and that is 15mm thick by 120 wide, and you get 4 pieces in. You put a spacer at one end, either end, and these are the spacers that I used. You have exactly about 18 mil. So I put 2 pieces of plywood, and then I just pop them in there, push the first one up, and then, as you can see, I drill through the centre of the bottom outer 2. You want it as much, I chose to use the outer groove, but you could use 2 inner ones if you want, or you could flip this over. I chose it this way. So you need 16 bolts. They are Allen bolts, and I drilled through, and what you've got to make sure of is don't try and pick the holes up underneath. What I did was I drilled them, and if you can see the shoulder around there, just turn you around, you can see that profile in there. You have to drill away from that profile, so it only needs to be drilled through there. So what I did was I just measured in enough to take it clear of that side wall, so you're only drilling through the 4 mil thick face of the aluminium profile underneath. And I drilled through, placed them on, leveled them, and then as you drill through the Allen keys, if you can see, the Allen bolts sit on a little lip there. You can see that it sits on that, so it's just right. 2 in either end, and then move up. Once you've clamped that in, that holds for your next one, and then you just drill completely along. Now I had the problem when I did this, and it just fits. You get the maximum. Now what I found was this T-section was slightly out of square at the ends, so I was constantly having to compensate for it until I got to here, and I thought, oh, it's not right this, because in order to make it square it was going to be past. So I just elongated the slots a bit on there, and so I could move it to where I wanted and just clean it up, and that were it. But that was just me being finicky. And as you can see, I use the clamps, the hold downs from my other CNC over there, plastic ones. And what you find is, because you've got bolts in here, you find out that you can't get one of the T-section. I mean, these are just bolts, but all I did was just grind a little bit off the head so that they go in and they fit on, and there you go. It should only be too tight. That is perfectly flat. Now this is alright if you're going to be engraving in the face of this piece of timber, or putting whatever, but if you're wanting to cut through, then you'd have to put a false spoil board on. Well, to put a false spoil board on, you'd probably use something like a 6mm ply, or a piece of MDF, or you could even use the original boards. It's entirely up to yourself what you put on, but because you've got so much to choose from, you know, you only need to fasten it down in maybe 4 places, and then you can level it, or you know, level your spoil board. It's up to yourselves, but it doesn't add that much weight to it. It's still reasonably easy to pick up. Now on eBay, this aluminium profile, and I think this is a must for this, they should have included this on the machine when it was done. They made it a far superior. It stops, because what I found out was with the MDF one, it worked fine, but because you can flex it, and you can imagine if you cut in a little bit too much, what happens is, you know, that's the depth you're taking off each time you cut in, the plunge depth. That what happens is you can get a little bit of chatter. It'll force that down, and you can see it moving a little bit, but it was nothing much untowards. But as I say, the more you can make this, you can't push that down. Well, it doesn't even flex. It's super strong, is this stuff. And I got 4 pieces, 4 lengths, 600 by 15 120, and I paid £76, which I think is absolutely brilliant, because it gives me more scope. I can put whatever piece of spoil board I want on there now. I can clamp down what I want. I've even got I'll just bear with me, I'll get it. Right, these are, you can see there is a 3D printed vacuum pod. Works a treat. I mean, this is for my big machine, but I have a slightly slimmer one, which that's a ball operated one. So when you've got the vacuum pump working, as soon as you put something down on that, like that, it automatically starts working as a vacuum. It's got the rubber insert. Brilliant piece of kit, because I can put that on there, put what I want onto it, and then it just holds it. It doesn't move. There's no, and I have a 2-stage vacuum pump. I have a shallower one now. That's 3D print. I have about 4 of them, so I can bolt that down, because they're all 3D printed. That's slightly narrower, slimmer. It's not as tall, so you don't lose a lot on your height. But I can pop that down there, put one over there, or 3 or 4, whichever I want, or 1. Connect them up with the coupling, put my piece of timber on top, or whatever I'm engraving or cutting, pop it on. Providing you're not going through, you're fine. But you can even go through if you keep these, your vacuum pods, out of the way, because you can go through on a inner space. It just gives it more scope. And I've seen some of the stuff on social media now where people have been using this, and I answered a guy last night on social media that he was having problems with the touch probe, and I said to him, just watch my video, because you might find out that you've got the same problems what a lot of other people had with the power input, causing a safety issue, a lockout on the software. I couldn't use a touch probe, but it still worked the program. But as I say, now this is to me, this is, I've done all the modifications that I need to do on it. I'm not doing any more mods. People, I had one chap that said to me, what about putting ball screws in? Well, yes, you can. The ball screws, I think they're about 600 ball screws. I think they're either 10 or 12 mil, and you can get the ball screw fitting that goes inside there. These come off and you can get to it. You can strip it all to pieces and change it for ball screws if you want, but why would I do that? Because you're adding more cost to it. And if I was going to do that, then I'd have bought a CNC already done that would do that came with ball screws, and you know, I think it's Fox Alien that do one with ball screws. If I wanted that, I didn't want that. You know, this has cost me so far £454. It's cost I think it was about £190 for the spindle and the box that I made, which I showed you in the other video, and it's cost me £76 for this, for the aluminium table profile, and 25 quid for that, for the dust shoe. And I think this is a really good, capable machine now. And as I say, this, the spindle and this should have come with it to start off with, I feel, not MDF table. But I mean, the MDF table with the clamp bolts, I can still use if I want. I'll just take that off, put that down. There's about 4 mil between the top of the bolts and the inserts that are in the back, which are, that's what the inserts are like. So I could put that in, surface it so it's level, and then do it that way. But majority of the time, leveling your spoil board is super critical if you're cutting aluminium, or you're doing a really fine detailed engraving on, say, if you were making a coin, or on the surface of acrylic, or where it mattered there were some fine lines, then obviously you'd have to have your spoil board level, so you'd level it. But I haven't had to do that yet. I probably will do. I've got some projects planned for it, but as you can see, it looks quite a capable machine now. And as I say, I'm fortunate in some ways that I've got a 3D printer, so I can print these off, and the work, they're good. You can bolt them down through here. I've got small bolts and that I can put them on, and I don't have to level these, because these are extremely accurate, the distances. So once you've bolted it down, because this is accurate, and this is, I've adjusted the motor so that it's square to it's all square to the bed and everything. It's not at an angle or that way or whichever way. It's spot on. So once I put that on and it's that accurate, that any small engraving, I don't have to use a wasteboard. So I'm fortunate in that sense that I've got 3D printers that I can do some of the work with. You can buy vacuum pods, and believe me, it's quite good. You can get small round ones if you're doing coins. You do a lot of coins. And the beauty about coins is it will get reasonably good seal even when you've engraved one side and flip it over to do the back side if you're doing that. So it still holds. But as I say, now I said I was going to create this video so I could show people the finished item now, and myself, I think that looks a pretty smart machine now. And there's one or two that's got one chap, it's awful play on this, and this flexes. Yeah, these are hollow tubes, chrome tubes, but even if you had solid steel on there, I don't think it'd make that much difference. And the flex is most in the centre of any, because that's the way it is. But I haven't found any chatter, I haven't found any unearthly vibrations. But if there was the only machine that you had and you could afford, then maybe in the future, change it to better bushes and more expensive bushes, and you can get them. More expensive rods, ball screws. Yeah, it certainly makes some difference, but I haven't found it a need to for what I use it for. So right, I'm back around now. So as I say, this is my final video at the moment on the 4040, and from, as I was saying earlier, that from the actual info that's out there now, there's an awful lot of people purchase these, and some having good experience, some having messing around with different software. I use one software for all my design work, and I use either VCarve Pro or Photo Carve, which I have, it's from Vectrix, or I use Aspire, which I can use both. They all work similar, but of course you have to put a post-processor in for this machine, which it's a simple enough procedure to put in. But once you put that in and you select it, when you're converting it to the G code from the designs program part, and then I just use the program that comes with it, Candle, and I have not had one issue with it. if I have an issue, it's myself that's done something, I've overlooked something, but it works. And I've seen people swapping and changing from different softwares. I want to use this, and it locking them out, and this, and sometimes one chap had messaged me and said he'd been using Candle, couldn't use it, so I'd use another program, I don't know whether Easel, and then it locked him out, and then now he can't do anything. And do I know the cure for getting it to work again? It's locked him out. No, I don't, because I don't have the same problems. So I couldn't, and it's awful because you can't help them. You don't know what they've done, of what their PC's running like, what PC they've got, and so it's very difficult. I feel helpless sometimes because I can't know every bit of software. I can only speak from my experience on what I use, and I find what I use works. And you know, I've got a CNC, a 3030 over there. It's a good one, and I've got my big 6090, and I've got this one now, 4040, and I use the same software to design it all. I know how it works, I know how to tweak it. I just use a different post processor for the big machine, that machine, Bravo Prodigy software, and this one. But it's the same software, design software, which is where normally if your software that operates the machine, like Candle for this one, freezes for some reason, 90% of the time it's due you've done something in the design part of the software. And as I say, if I did an engraving of the week, it were a lithoframe for a chap for his a photograph that he'd sent me. Could I do it? It's a friend of mine. I said, yeah, no problem. I think it took about 4.5 hours. Did a rough cut, and then I did a fine ball nose cut to put the other detail in. Now, yeah, I could have done, because this was in like a white plastic perspex that I did it. Now, yes, I could have just done it in the fine pass initially, but it does it easy because you can, when you use a roughing cutter, a slightly bigger cutter, it's easier for it, so it takes most of the material out. Then you do a fine pass with the ball nose, and it came out, it were over the moon with it. He's lit it and he's put it in a frame and this and that. He didn't have the, so I said, yeah, you know, it's favour for a favour really. And but when I was doing the rough cut, I set it all, I put the material down. I wasn't too sure about the settings that I'd done for this one. It was a bit intricate, so what I did, I took the cutter out then, let it run for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, watched it, and it was working perfectly. So I cancelled the program, put the cutter in, zeroed it off and set it running. I went down, I come back down into the workshop, got, had a phone call. When I came back down, it was still running away. It took about 2 hours for the rough cut, and then it took a little bit longer for the fine cut, which was only taking out roughly not even a millimetre on the fine cut, and it came out lovely. So it's, you know, and I've got to, you know, stress, I've said it in the videos before, don't try and run before you can walk. It's taken me a long time to get used to being able to use 3 different CNC machines and 3D printers, different ones, and you've got to take it step by step and be careful. You know, I mean, one chap said he set it going, his 4040, and it burrowed its way into the spoil board. and then it broke the bit and then carried on working. Well, he's lucky he didn't do more damage than that. And like, they're only small spindles, the original motor. Lucky he didn't bend it, but it didn't. It broke the bit, an engraving bit, and it was something he'd set, you know. And I emailed him back. I said, it's something that you've done in the setup or your design. I said, have you used this? He hadn't used a CNC before. He had a 3D printer, but it was he'd not done a real lot of work on it. But he thought he'd get himself a CNC, and he wanted to do this, and he come unstuck with it. And I said, just do a basic design first, you know, do the test engravings that you get with it. Just run it, learn to set it up, learn to touch off, and you'll find out that you'll get confident with doing that, and then step it up a little bit more. And that's what you should be doing, not trying to do such a big complicated job and then finding out it's broke the bit and damaged the spoil board. You know, but as I say, look, enough of me babbling on now. I just like the people's feedback and everything. But I hope everybody that's purchased one of these machines carry on, and I'm learning from, you know, from what some of the jobs that other people's done and what they're doing and that. But and if I come across anything else, or then I will do another video. But as I always say, is until next time, like and subscribe. It really helps me, does that, because I know people's liking my videos, and I get feedback from them, and I try and answer everybody. It takes some doing sometimes, but I do. But like and subscribe, and as I always say, is till next time, be safe, be careful out there, and bye for now.